I called the police to do a welfare check on my neighbor, not knowing it was the best decision I made for them. For a few months, this guy who lives upstairs from me has had his mom living with him, and the arguments have been constant and quite concerning to listen to. The walls are very thin, so we hear everything quite easily. This one incident back in November, he was screaming at her for the whole day, but we didn't do anything because we don't like to cause trouble or to get involved in things that aren't our business. Plus, we know he has been struggling with his mental health for a while, so we thought he was just having a bad day. Since then, every few days we hear them arguing and think, great, now we have to listen to this BS again. It's been driving everyone crazy, but again, we thought it wasn't our place to intervene because it's just arguments. Fast forward to today, they were getting some repair work done and it woke us all up early in the morning and carried on for hours until we heard them arguing again. But this time she was telling him to get out and he was screaming at her, so I decided enough is enough and called the police to do a welfare check on them, because he clearly needs help and I was worried for his mom. He went absolutely crazy, very abusive to the police. He was crying and screaming and even came to our door to ask if we called the police, which we denied even though it was me who did. After about 2 hours of him kicking and screaming off like a 5-year-old on the floor, refusing to move, they finally took him in and my parents went to go check on his mom. Turns out he has been very abusive to her for months and she's really glad someone called the police because now she has a way out and feels safer. She said all those times that we heard him screaming at her, she wished someone would come over and check on them so she could get out. Now we all feel enormous guilt that we didn't do anything sooner. I've given statements and sent over some video evidence I have, and hopefully they both get the help they need. Moral of the story, never be afraid to get involved if you think someone might be in danger. You could be saving someone's life. I'm so glad I made that decision today.
Am I in the wrong for telling my husband that I'm leaving him when he was in the middle of a meltdown? My husband and I have been together for 8 years now. I have 2 sons from my previous marriage, 13 and 9, and I just gave birth to me and my husband's daughter 3 months ago. Prior to me giving birth and even a few weeks following, our home life was great. We often had friends telling us that they wish they could find someone that made them as happy as him and I made each other. There was hardly ever any disagreements. Our communication was solid. He was fantastic with my boys, attending every parent-teacher conference, doctor's appointment, school event, etc., and took them out often to play basketball and baseball. This all changed after maybe 2 to 3 weeks after I gave birth. He turned angry, depressed, and impatient. Me and the kids started having to constantly walk on eggshells. He became lazy, such as stop cleaning up after himself or helping around the house, yet still use sentences to my kids such as, you guys need to pick up after yourself. Me and your mother shouldn't have to follow you around and clean up your messes, when he never cleaned at all. I couldn't even get him to wash his own dinner plate without him having a meltdown. Basically, every day he was just angry. If one thing went wrong, like him not being able to find something he set down somewhere, which became an everyday event, he was freaking out, saying things like, yup, awesome, so glad life wants to F me over, or why the F does this always happen to me? Can't I just have a good effing day for once? But he always made it me and the kids' problem. If he lost something, it didn't matter what time of day it was, he was 100% flipping out and expecting me to find it for him. I even told him that my oldest had to go to the ER because he had a bad rash, and he goes, have your mom take him, because he was using my vehicle. Or the other day, my mood has been soured due to his early morning freak out and took it out on me on a rough route. I was exhausted, running on 3 hours of sleep, and he rushed me out of the house to go to his errands with him. I didn't even get out of the car, so it was pointless. And then he gets pissed and screams, what the F is your problem? Can't we just have a good day for once? As if I'm the reason that his life sucks. And that is not the man that I married. So last night around 11:30 p.m. he starts freaking out again. He lost an important item he needed for work. He starts slamming things around our bedroom, repeatedly saying things like, effing great, effing awesome, effing love it, until I got up and started helping him look. As soon as I get up and out of bed, he stops looking and just walks behind me holding his phone's flashlight. We can't find it. He doesn't go to work as a result. Another trait that he's gotten since giving birth. He literally calls out over the wind blowing wrong. I lay back down. He practically body slams the bed beside me, starts huffing and puffing, heavy sighing, growling while practically clawing at his face, talking about how effing stupid this life is. I ask him to stop and he says, F you. So I tell him that I'm done. I'm leaving and that me and my children's shit will be out of the home by today. He says, what the F ever, and goes to sleep. I wake up at 5 a.m. and start packing. He comes out around 7 asking what I'm doing, and I tell him again, I'm done and I'm leaving. He says I'm leaving him in this time of need and he would never do that to me. But he kinda did, because I was diagnosed with PPD not even 4 days after giving birth, and he completely overrode it and made it about him and how much his life sucks. For example, I know you're feeling some type of way, but I have shit going on too. No one asks me how the F I am. Or literally making passive-aggressive comments like, wish I could sleep all day, when I was 6 days postpartum, after I fell asleep on the couch. He does no nighttime duty. He says I'm leaving him in his time of need and that I should have urged him to get therapy instead of walking away. But his anger made me hate him. I don't even want to be near him. Am I in the wrong?
So here's the story of the scariest thing that has ever happened to me, and a lesson on why you need to take precautions when staying in a hotel, especially by yourself. So I'm in Grand Prairie, Texas for a work trip, which is a suburb of Dallas. I get to the hotel. Everything's fine and normal. I get there and I do shower the first night I'm there. I sleep. I've stayed in that hotel so many times before, and then I go to work the next day. I end up getting back at like 11-ish p.m., and I decide to take another shower because I've been outside all day. I get in the shower, and I look out the shower curtain, and I'm like, is that a message on the mirror? So I turn off the shower, and the steam has steamed up the mirror, and there's a message that has been put on the mirror, fingerprint smudged in there. And it said, there's a camera behind here with a little circle with explosions. And so I'm freaking out. I get out of the shower and I call one of my bosses and I'm like, hey, what should I do? And she was like, you need to leave. And so I went down to the front desk and I was like, hey girl, this is really crazy. I have a picture of this. This wasn't here last night when I showered. It's here now. The mirror says there's a camera behind here. This poor 18-year-old girl working the front desk is also freaking out because it's late at night. Keep in mind, I got in at 11 p.m. And she's like, we don't really have another room for you to go to. Our hotel is full, but you can, check out. And I was like, yeah, I'll check out. And so I check out, and then it gets crazier. So I check out, and keep in mind it's late, and the only hotel that has openings is 30 minutes away. And it's in a really nice area of Texas called South Lake, Texas. So I get in my rental car and I drive to South Lake, Texas, and I check into the hotel and everything's fine and normal. So I go to my room, I sit on my hotel bed, and I'm FaceTiming my boyfriend, and then the landline phone to the hotel rings, the room. And so I was like, oh, I checked in late, maybe they need my credit card information or something. So I pick up the phone. On the other end of the phone is an old man's voice, and he was like, hello, I've seen you in Dallas. I wanted to let you know I thought you were pretty, Grace. So he knew my name. So my heart drops to the bottom of my stomach, and the only thing I can tell my boyfriend on the phone is I need to go, I need to leave here right now. Someone is following me. I need to go right now. So I go down to the lobby, and I'm like, I'm going to call the police. So I call the police. The police show up, and they're like, did he make a threat to you on the phone? And I was like, no. I hung up on him before he could tell me more, but he knew my name and where I was. And so they were like, well, he didn't make a threat, so there's nothing we can do. We can ask the hotel to turn over their phone records, but they don't have to. The hotel front desk man was like, we won't show you the phone records, but we'll tell you them. Her room has received no phone calls tonight. And I'm freaking out, crying. I'm like, obviously that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And the police were like, there's nothing we can do. They checked all my stuff for trackers. There was no trackers on anything. I ended up, one of my bosses that same one I called, lived in Texas. So I went to stay at her apartment. But literally what? So stay safe out there. Don't be going to hotels unless you absolutely have to.
I have to block some people before I post this. I just went to Whole Foods to go get myself a juice, which, first of all, risky choice because I'm wearing all white pants right now. I just went to Whole Foods to get a juice, literally rolled out of bed. My hair looks crazy, don't have any makeup on, and I was at the juice bar, I ordered my juice, and then I started shopping around while it was being made. And as I was shopping around, this guy walks in, and he was a very, very handsome man. He had a really cute beanie. He had a really great style. He was tatted up. He looked just kind of a type of guy, if that makes sense. Craziest part, I was just having a conversation with my best friend yesterday saying you know what, I really like those guys. I think that might be some a new genre I'm unlocking that I'm low-key kind of into. And so anyway, I'm in the fucking grocery store and I see this guy and I'm literally walking away from the juice bar, and he's just with his fucking eyes, literally just watching me walk, not even hiding it, just straight up I see you and I like what I see. And it made me blush because oh shit, you're brave with it. And so I just put my head down and I was walking, and I passed by him through the veggie section. We passed by, and you guys know this about me, I always look up and make eye contact with people when I'm walking by them, and I smile. So he walks by me, I look up at him and I just smile, just out of kind courtesy. And he stops me and he's like, I just want to say I really like, and he stalls, and he's like, your beautiful face. And I was so caught off guard because I've never been like, it was just such a like, so I smile up big. I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Wow, thank you. Like, that was so sweet. And he was like, yeah. And it was just like, we both kind of walked away. I feel like that was a moment for him when he was like, fuck, why'd you say that? But it was honestly such a sweet thing to say. Like, that made my day. And then anyway, after shopping for a little bit, we come across each other's paths again, and he's like, why? He's like, wow, like, this is fate to me. He's like, I'm sorry, but like, I really believe in fate. And he's like, I just have to ask you like what your name is and what's your sign. And he started saying like, I believe that it's all about the soul. He's like, I just have this really weird soul connection right now. And he's like, I can't explain, it's super weird. So after he stopped me and was like, I believe in fate, like, I just have to ask you what your name is, whatever. I tell him my name and we're looking at each other, and he had these like really beautiful eyes. So we're just kind of like smiling at each other. And he basically was just like, everything aside, like, I just really need to tell you that you have one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen. I literally was geeking out at this point. I'm geeking, bro. I look like this right now. The most beautiful smile I've ever seen. He's like, you have this light about you that I can't explain it. I haven't really seen it in many people, but you have this light that literally comes from inside that shows on the outside when you smile. And I was like, bruh, I literally knockout. I'm about to fall on the floor. So you should stop. Bruh, he was buttering me up. Like, the way he was speaking to me about my soul and my light and my energy, like, I've never been spoken to like that by a man before. That was the first time I've ever been impressed, perhaps, honestly. And you know what the craziest part is? I really started loving Whole Foods and getting ready to go to Whole Foods because I always kind of felt like maybe I'd meet my soulmate at Whole Foods. You know, I feel like that's kind of a little thing. It's always the days that you look like shit that you go to Whole Foods and something happens. It's always those days. Why is it always those days? Why is it always those days, dude? If I had known, I would have gotten ready. If I had known. Anyway, he followed me on Instagram, and yeah, I don't really know what to do now. I'm just more just like gassed up about the experience. Like, that was so cool, and it really made my day. And he's like, I'm sorry. He's like, this is so weird, but like, can I give you a hug? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he gave me a hug, and he's like, you made my day, Ani. Like, I just have to tell you that. And I'm like, bro, I didn't do anything. You made my day.
I have the weirdest relationship with my oldest sister. Not Sissy. I have one more older sister besides Sissy. We're gonna call her Kay. Her and I either love each other dearly or we're like at each other's throats ready to fucking fight. Perfect example. Yesterday I texted in the family group chat. I'm like, who do we think sucks the best in this group chat? Like, me, my mom, and my sister. They're like, bitch, you're fucking weird. But I love to just say crazy shit like that to them. Like, that's just who the fuck I am. My oldest sister responds immediately and she's like, not you, bitch. You can't keep a man to save your life. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, this was just all fun and games kind of thing. And then I decide, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go in on her. Like, keep a man, fuck that shit. Like, I don't even want these men. She's like, well, they cheat on you regardless, so it's not you, bitch. You can't just have family fun. And I have my mom texting me on the side, like, do not engage. Please do not engage. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna fucking engage. Also, like, that's just kind of her nature. Like, she's known for her backhanded compliments. Like, she has said some of the most vile shit, but like backhandedly. I'll never forget the time she said to Sissy, she was like, you looked so amazing when you were doing Orange Theory. Like, what happened? It's like, bitch, be so fucking for real. She's also the type, every Christmas, she gets us something we didn't ask for. She's like, Livy, I got you retinol because like your skin is so beyond fucked up. Like, you need retinol. I'm like, okay, no, but I asked for an Amazon gift card, but like, no, thank you so much for the fucking retinol. The insult that comes with it. She means so well, but like, that's just like her form of communication is like a backhanded compliment. And like, one of the things that like annoys me most about her, she'll text me and she'll be like, what size are you in Opali? And I was like, I've never even fucking shopped at Opali. Like, I don't know what size I am. She'll be like, okay, but what size are you? I'm like, I just said I don't fucking know what size I am. She won't let it go. And then there will be like a huge like event in my life. Like, when I hit my million, everyone was like celebrating. We're so excited I hit 1 million. She texted me, she was like, congrats, but what size are you? And I'm like, oh my, this bitch can like just never let me have a moment. And it's also like, you don't listen to me, bitch. I don't know what size I am in like fucking Opali. And I also only communicate through Instagram DMs and Snapchats, and it's mostly insult. She'll swipe up on a story of mine and be like, ew, what the fuck is that? I'm like, my selfie I just posted of myself. She's like, yeah, what the fuck? The other day I was like, I don't know if I like my short hair or my long hair better. This bitch swipes up and is like, long, short is so fucking ugly on you. I'm like, oh my god. And I'll send her like, oh, this prisoner's looking for love, and she's like, why would you send me that? I'm like, I don't know, it just seems like your vibe. It's also just like fucking crazy in general. I think this is like the Pisces in her. She'll think like everyone's against her. For instance, My mom sent us a text on the anniversary of my cousin's death. She's like, please make sure to reach out to like your aunt and uncle. Like, it's a hard day for everybody. My sister responds. She says, you're all fake, peace sign. She's like, literally thinks we're all against her for some reason. I'm like, mom just wants us to reach out to our family members, and this bitch has the nerve to respond in the family group chat like, you're all fake. We're both water signs, so we're both fucking crazy. So like, I'll give it right back to her. The other day I told her I was gonna give our dad, who we don't speak to our fucking father. I was like, I'm gonna give him your address. So he shows up and I'm gonna pretend that you're getting held hostage and I'm gonna be texting him off a fake number like, come help me, come help me, come help me. So dad just shows up at your fucking apartment after like 7 years of not talking. That's like batshit insane. But she did something to piss me off. She'll be like, I'll give him your LA address. So he shows up to your LA address. And I'm like, no, go fuck yourself. And I'm like, no, jokes on both of us, because like my dad doesn't care either way. Doesn't fuck with either of us. Also loves to diagnose me with everything. Like one time I told her my back hurt and she was like, okay, you have kidney problems. The shit she did to me as a child growing up was 30 times worse than all this shit now. And I love her dearly, but she is batshit insane. But like, so am I.
The best form of revenge is kindness, and I will stand by that fact until the day that I die. Because when you have someone coming at you and trying to degrade you in ways that are completely unnecessary, it is so easy to sit there and try and defend yourself and stoop down to their level and play the games that they're playing. But what I've learned is in the end, playing the kindness card and just not fighting back almost makes them look more embarrassing. Because in the moment, sure, it would feel great to fight back and say things that are unnecessary as well. But when that conversation is good and over, if you're not proud of some of the things that you said to them, that means you handled the situation in the wrong way. I've matured a lot this past month, and I have spent time kind of recognizing my own self-worth and what I need out of myself rather than others. Once you get to that point, you realize there's genuinely no point in trying to prove your worth to anyone because you know the person that you are. Like, I've had someone recently try and call me a nobody, and honestly, like, I could clap back on that and be like, I'm not a nobody. I have this, I have this, I have this, but there's no point. So I just say thanks and move on with my day. Because obviously all that hate and emotion that people must have if they come at you is coming from a place other than your actual self. If you know what you have going for yourself, there is no point in adding to the struggle that someone else might be going through. I'm so proud of myself and the person that I'm becoming and the people that I'm surrounding myself with. Life isn't a competition. There's always going to be someone better than you, and there's always going to be someone that has less than you, and that's just facts. And I just wanted to come on here and say this because a year ago, the person that I know wouldn't be handling situations like I am now. And I wish I would have, because at the time I was so insecure that I would fight back on anything that had to do with my name. But there's no point. There's literally no point. If you know the person that you are, there's no point, because then that just shows there might be a reason that they're right. I know this video seems so random, but I have spent a long time recently trying to be the bigger person in certain situations. And it's hard. Honestly, it's harder than stooping down to someone else's level and clapping back in ways that you know you can. It's so hard, but at the end of the day, when you look back on a conversation that you had, you should be proud of the words that you said and the way that you handled it, because it sounds so cliche, but honestly, kindness is king, and I'm just gonna say that. And I'm saying that because I'm not a person who has always had that mentality, and I wish I did, because I could have saved myself from a lot of hurt. But you live and you learn, and that's my job with my platform, is to come on here and share my experiences and hope to help you guys, especially with a lot of you guys going into high school. Do not stoop down and be the lower person in high school. If you are kind in high school, people are going to like you. And if they don't, stand by the person that you are and you know your own self-worth. You don't need anybody else's validation.
Am I the astronaut for telling my husband that you don't lose weight magically after going to the gym? Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I don't think my husband would want our argument hashed out to strangers, but honestly, I don't know who else to ask. My husband, male 33, and I, female 24, have been married 2 years. We have a 16-week-old daughter. Prior to my pregnancy, I was active, but not as active as my husband. He is big into fitness and stuff I am really not. I just worked out because my doctor told me to. I only ran maybe twice a week and had a Pilates class every Sunday. I weighed 120 pounds before pregnancy. During pregnancy, I gained 40, lost 20 right off the bat after having my daughter, which my doctor said is normal through my baby herself, fluid, placenta, all that. And I've been working on losing that last 20. While my body looks different, I don't really care, as I'm just glad my baby is so healthy and perfect. However, my husband started mentioning my weight at 2 weeks postpartum, literally. He would say it and frame it in a way that was a compliment, but it wasn't. Oh, you look so good. You look like a mommy now. Or I wouldn't guess it was a whole 20 pounds, maybe just 10 or so. I just rolled my eyes and told him to stop. Honestly, I didn't care. Those comments happened maybe twice a week, so it was easy to forget. My doctor told me to wait 12 weeks before returning to strenuous exercise, so I did. But the moment I hit 12 weeks, my husband was asking me to come to the gym with him, literally all the time. He was badgering me almost. I did it to make him happy, and he certainly was happy. I will admit that it felt good to have some time to myself, and I didn't mind going at all. But now it's been another 4 weeks since then. I haven't lost any weight but like 2.5 pounds. My husband seems to think this is because I snack too much, and he told me that. I told him I have to. I am breastfeeding. So that started an argument. He told me that I should go back to Pilates to tighten my tummy again. I told him I'd rather die than do that right now, to be honest. He told me, fine, then at least try harder. I told him I am trying my absolute hardest, and you don't just magically lose weight in the gym. He wholeheartedly disagrees with that and went on a tangent about how he loves me and my body for carrying our baby, but he still wants me to take care of myself for my health. I mean, I get that sentiment. A lot of my postpartum appointments centered around my health as well, but it's more things like recovering, sleeping, and eating, though, not working out. So, am I the astronaut?
I'm awful at storytelling, so bear with me. But basically, I grew up with my dad and my older brother. My older brother is 5 years older than me. Me, my dad, and my brother are all really close due to how we had to grow up, which I will get into. Also, if any of this seems off, it's because I don't know the full story to every single thing that happened because I was so young. So before I even came into the picture, my mom was a very heavy drinker, just, drank a lot. But after I was born, I'm pretty sure that her issues got worse. Sorry about that. So she didn't just drink, she also did drugs. So she was a drug addict and an alcoholic when I grew up. Basically, all that I remember from my childhood is just her being drunk, calling my family members to come get us, and calling my dad while he was at work, being like, mom's drunk, blah, blah, blah. And this is not to shit talk my mom because I understand that it's hard to be addicted to things. I don't really have much resentment towards her, but I'll get into that. She would show up to my school, my elementary school, drunk and embarrass me. She would try to drive me places drunk. She actually drove herself off a bridge. It's not funny. Off a bridge, and she was drunk. Obviously, she made it out alive, but there was just a lot of bad things that happened while she was drunk. She was an angry drunk a lot of the time, so she wasn't really nice, and she did some bad things. She hid vodka in my neighbor's bathroom cabinet or something like that because we were close with our neighbors, so whenever she would go over, she could sip drinks. And keep in mind, when all of this is happening, I'm from the ages of 1 to 6, so... And also, my mom went to rehab a bunch when I was younger. I'm pretty sure she went when I was a baby, 2 months old. Maybe not 2 months old, but very, very little. And my grandparents lived with us because my dad works in New York City and he had to be obviously at work all the time. So shout out to my grandparents and shout out to my dad because I would probably be dead. I'm not even joking. She would have probably killed me at some point in my life if it wasn't for my dad. I've done story times on the specific things my mom did to my brother and I when she was on drugs or drunk, but I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so fast forward to when I'm 6 years old. My parents get divorced because, as you can assume, the marriage wasn't doing too well. So at that age, I didn't really know what was going on. All I knew is my dad was going on a vacation or something. I don't even remember what the story was. But when that happened, my mom was very manipulative towards my brother and I and would tell us, your dad's a horrible person. Your dad doesn't love you. He doesn't want you guys to be with me. He wants to take you away from me. Because again, at such a young age, you don't understand what, okay, my mom's an alcoholic and my dad is taking us away from her because she's an alcoholic and it's not safe. She would twist it up and, And this isn't to shit on my mother. She's a very, sweet person. She's so funny. She's a great person. She just had issues. But yeah, my parents got divorced when I was, 5 or 6. And then for a little while, we were doing the whole, normal divorced parents thing where I was with my mom on the weekdays and then my dad's on the weekend. But my mom's drinking got really, really bad to the point where, it just wasn't safe to even just spend one night at her house because she would get so drunk. One time she thought that she was taking my brother to school, but it was like 10 o'clock at night. So there was this one situation that I guess like pushed my dad over the edge and just like made him be like, okay, this isn't safe. And I'm pretty sure he was in Brazil, and obviously that's pretty far from the US. And I guess I called him like crying or something, and I was like, mom's drunk, like mom's not okay, blah blah blah. And my dad heard my mom in the background like making noise and everything. And like, I can't imagine being a parent and being in Brazil while your kids are in the US and they're like 6 years old and their mother is drunk or like off drugs. Like, that must have been the most stressful situation. So I'm pretty sure after that, my dad called it quits. We started living with my dad full time, but my mom would still come over and visit and like have dinners and stuff. But a lot of the time when we would plan things with my mom, she would show up drunk or she wouldn't show up at all. For example, my 7th or 8th birthday, we were going to this like arcade pizza place, and we went up to the house that I grew up in that she was now living in alone. Her car doors were open, the front door was open, and she was passed out on her bed drunk, and she was supposed to be at my birthday party. So just little things like that. So as I got older, she went to rehab a couple more times, but she was not really in my life at all. Again, I didn't really, like, it's not like I hated her, but I was like, you ruined my childhood, so, like, I'm not really interested in you being in my life. Because, might I also add, her side of the family wasn't very understanding of the situation, and they would blame it on my brother and I and be like, you guys, you don't understand what your mom's going through, like, blah, blah. And they were never like, you guys are, like, in elementary school. Are you guys okay? It was just always, you guys are bad to your mother. So there was that. She would reach out and try to see me and try to see my brother and I. But after letting us down so many times, I think we kind of just gave up and we're like, you know what? I'm not interested in taking time out of my day to go meet my mom when she's going to show up after she just like snorted some lines of coke. Like, I'm good. So yeah, I basically just grew up most of my life without a mom, and obviously it's an unfortunate circumstance to grow up in, but I wouldn't have it any other way if I'm being completely honest, because I think my family dynamic and growing up with my brother and my dad, as corny as it sounds, it is like what made me who I am. And my relationship with my dad is so good, and my relationship with my brother is so good, and I don't think it would be half as good if we didn't have to go through such hard things together. And like I said, I do owe so much to my dad, and he's probably gonna watch this, so let's act like I'm not saying this because I'm not a very emotional person. But he did genuinely save my brother and I's lives, and he could have just been like, this is too much for me, like, I'm not dealing with it, blah blah blah, and been a bad dad. But he really went into full father and mother mode, and he did a really good job at balancing being like a girl dad for me and being a boy dad for my brother. And these stories aren't to say that I had an awful childhood, because I had an amazing childhood. Again, there were some unfortunate things that happened, but things could be so much worse, and I'm just lucky that I have a good family. You know what I mean? Because those things could have happened to me and I could have no support system, but because of my dad and my brother and my dad's side of the family and everything, I'm just thankful for it. And again, I would be such a different person if I didn't grow up with those things and didn't see some of the things that I've seen. I think it just makes me appreciate things a lot more. And
am I in the wrong for ignoring my friend's phone calls after she invited herself, her spouse, her children, and her friends to my home for an impromptu barbecue without my permission? My friend is having a hard time with her spouse and really needs someone to be there for her while they work through their issues. We only just recently reconnected after not speaking for 4 years. Now, every time she calls, she asks me what I'm doing for the day or at that moment, and then invites herself, her family of 4, and some other friends over to my house. For example, Friday was her spouse's birthday. Monday, she told me that her plan was to take him to dinner. Then she calls me Friday morning asking what I was doing. I told her that I was just watching a movie on my couch. Then she says, I know it's last minute, but I want to come over for a barbecue at your house. She said that the kids could play together and we could hang out and have some drinks. I hesitated initially and then told her that I don't really have a lot of meat here, nor was my home company ready. She responded that she would grab some more food and do all of the cooking. Then I said, okay. I cleaned up a little bit and then I received a second call. She excitedly told me that she invited a guy friend and he may bring a friend for me to talk to, and a female friend of hers was also coming. I was so shocked that she was trying to throw a party, not just come over and hang out with just her family like she implied during the first call. Her family already was 4 people that I was not expecting, which would have made a total of 8 people including my own children. I have only met 2 of the 3 people that she invited. She didn't even ask if she could invite anyone else to my home or give out my address. Luckily, I got a phone call on the other line and I told her that I'd call her back. 2 hours passed by and she called me repeatedly. I decided to text her that something came up and I can't host a party for her husband. I didn't receive a response. I waited another 2 hours and then called her to see how the barbecue party was going. She told me that she didn't even have the barbecue party. I asked her why she didn't ask her friends to come to her apartment since she has her own barbecue grill, and why didn't she at least go out to dinner like she originally planned. She literally didn't even answer the first question, but said that she didn't want to spend a lot of money on going out to eat. So am I in the wrong for making up an excuse to end the call and then ignoring all of her repeated calls to confirm?